Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing fantastic out there in Heat Nation, and appreciate you guys checking us out. Subscribe to the channel if you guys could. Also, Tobin and Leroy, weekdays 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Subscribe over there at WQAM YouTube page and Twitch and all your podcast platforms. We have been basking a little bit in Bam Adebayo's great performance against the South Sudan. He has had a tremendous performance for Team USA. He has been able to bust out the receipts and audit the cold takes of ESPN's Brian Windhorst, who said that he faced, quote, extreme side-eye from Bam Adebayo, which is delightful. I don't even know what the hell that means. I don't know what extreme side-eye, like side-eye. But extreme side-eye is like, you're just like looking at him like, extreme side-eye to me feels like Windhorst is in whatever locker room setting that the Team USA has, and he just won't take off the side. Like, he is like looking at Windhorst, who's probably talking to, like, I don't know, Halliburton or something, and he's just like looking at the side of his eye, just like, this guy said I need to be benched. Idiot. But it did make me wonder. This has been a great run so far for Bam. And some things have been very, very obvious for him, that we have seen a confidence and a bravado, I think, from him. And a lot of that stuff has grown. You've seen this guy grow in many ways. From a leadership standpoint, he is more vocal. And, you know, this is such a fascinating player who, you guys know, I root for. I think this guy carries himself in a manner that is easy to root for and get behind. But it is going to be interesting coming into this season and coming off of this Team USA. What is this going to mean for Bam going into this year? And what I mean by that is Bam Adebayo setting himself up to, I don't know if the word is right to take a leap, but is he going to pass Jimmy Butler as the Heat's number one needle mover? You remember these were the comments from Pat Riley during his State of the Miami Heat address this year, and he had said that on this team right now, Jimmy Butler is the number one needle mover.
The things you have to really look at that are good, who moves the needle the most, on our team is Jimmy. Jimmy moves the needle the most. He's an incredible player.
I think this is an interesting thing because Pat has a lot of love for Bam Adebayo and really was the only guy in that press conference who did not face the wrath of Pat Riley. But is there a case of Bam Adebayo being the glue that holds everything together and being the biggest needle mover on the team? Because it is interesting. Everybody seems to feel like a Heat team can unlock Bam more by not having him wrestle with grizzly bears in the middle. And, Rasheed Wallace gave some voice to this, that, Bam having some more freedom, being a power forward, not necessarily being a five anymore. This has been a long debate amongst Heat fans. Does that burden, taking that away from Bam, does that make him a bigger needle mover for this Miami Heat? Well, I think certainly, look, if you can have him on the prowl, you can have him handle the ball more, you could see everything that he could do. Dwayne Wade says this on he can do everything out there. And, we saw in the middle of last year him unlocking the three ball. But I do agree with Pat. Still, and I say this as, a huge Bam Adebayo fan, that the biggest needle mover, the biggest guy that, like, everybody looks to and is like, oh, that guy has stepped out on the floor for the Heat, is still Jimmy. And for the Miami Heat to get back to contention, does that need to switch? Does Bam have to become the biggest needle mover? Because I think right now, Bam is the thing that is almost like the biggest foundational piece for the Heat, sets everybody up, gets everybody open. You need him. You can't survive without him. You're not going to be functional without him. But actually moving up the Richter scale, can he do more things this year that moves the needle that gets the Miami Heat passed to a bigger spot. And that's going to be a fascinating thing, because I do think that this persona he's walking around with at Team USA is palpable. He does not look like a guy who is shying away from any moment. And this has been a pretty awkward Team USA that you could look around and you could say, wow, LeBron's still that guy. KD's still that guy. But Tatum's kind of bumping into things, not looking himself. Joel Embiid obviously looks like a lost cause out there. Bam doesn't. And so when he's going to take this experience and he's going to come back to the Miami Heat, can that be palpable as far as bringing this into the season? And I guess almost the torch passing from Jimmy Butler to Bam Adebayo. And I'm not suggesting Jimmy Butler just go sit in the corner and suck his thumb. Obviously, Jimmy Butler is still a dog, and everybody loves Jim VP when he gets into that active mode. But obviously, he is getting older, and you do want to preserve him, and you do want him out there for plenty of games, and he's going into a contract year. But these guys and their relationship, it has always been the Jimmy Butler show. It has always been Jimmy Butler is that guy, and Jimmy Butler is the biggest needle mover. Are we about to enter a change with that this year? It'll be an interesting look at it, because, and I guess, do I still see a situation where, hey, they're both on the floor, who's going to take the last shot? I'm going to guess it's still going to be Jimmy. Should that be the case? Should this be a time where, the ball now goes to 13, that he is looked upon? Do they emphasize more games now where he can cook? And I don't think that this is something where, Jimmy is going to buck against this. I think Jimmy's always been a guy that wants to feed his teammates, not necessarily be the go-to scorer. I think if we're going to look about things that are uncomfortable for both guys, probably Jimmy Butler, being the guy who has to go put up 35 to have the team succeed, and Bam Adebayo being a 5 who has to go wrestle with everybody. They are stars that are so good and can bend things with their will and their competitiveness that even in being in uncomfortable spots, they could still be pretty damn productive and provide a lot of winning for their franchise. But clearly, with no moves being made of true significance in free agency, other than bringing in some young bucks, hoping for better health, a healthy Hero, a healthy Rozier, a healthy Duncan Robinson, there is going to have to be something internal that happens. There is going to have to be something that looks like it clicks. And I don't, it's going to be tough to gauge Nikola Jovic off of this summer, because he basically admitted as much that while he'll be ready for the season, he's kind of gutting it out for his country here. He's not 100%. He's not where he absolutely is. And so where Bam had said in our interview with him that he thought this was going to be a big opportunity for Nico, I don't know if it's necessarily fair to judge. But as Kevin Love had said when I asked him about this a few weeks back, he thinks this absolutely can be a game changer for Bam. That this Team USA experience can certainly be a thing that becomes very, very important for Bam going forward.
What I'm excited about too is I've had many conversations with Bam. Obviously, I spoke to him, after he signed his contract, and after it was announced. Obviously, not in that order, but I'm excited, really excited for him, because you always see guys coming off of USA basketball having played with the best players and against the best competition in the world, and they have career years. And I think in the evolution of Bam's game and being able to expand his game, and now maybe stepping in and playing a little bit more minutes at the 4. Obviously, we've added depth at the 5 and added depth with some size, and Nico being able to play the 4 and play the point forward. I think it's going to allow for him to. I don't want to speak out of turn here, but log maybe a few less minutes, or be able to, get the best out of maybe 35 minutes instead of 40 or 41 or 42, so that when it comes playoff time, when we need to be at our absolute best and fresh, he can play those heavy extended minutes and be Bam and have a career year like that. And we fully expect that out of him because he chases the game, better than anyone that, or right up there with anybody that I've seen. So it's aspirational in that way. And he's the guy that's going to lead us.
Yeah. Still Goosey's comments from Kevin Love there. But you certainly can see a guy who I do think is going to come off of this with a different level of swagger. And I think when he came off the last Olympics, I thought it was noticeable as well. He probably had one of his best defensive years that year coming off of that. You definitely saw a more expanded offensive game. So I do think there's already been a level of that. But I do think this team, the experience that he's having, getting to be the Olympic Village, I don't know if you guys saw the video of him going out there and fencing with Team USA. I think it was cool. There was video today of him watching, I think, the women's team with Dwayne Wade. I think it's cool that D Wade's there to have that mentorship with him because, he's gotten so much from Udonis Haslem and lessons on that and from Spo. But I do think that, D Wade has been the star. I remember there were years where, when D Wade, when he left, they were trying to search and find who was going to be that needle mover. And you just never really could find it. It didn't feel natural. Almost until D Wade came back, it almost set everything back in order for the team. Outside, of course, the Philly cheese gogi run, but he, this is going to be a cool thing. I think this is going to be one of the interesting things to watch as a Heat fan because how he brings that mentality and the success to the team this year. What positives are going to come from it? I think a lot can. And it's not just the 3-point shooting and it's not just the versatility he's going to show, but I think everybody kind of has the understanding going forward that however many years they have left of Jimmy Butler, this guy's not going anywhere. And you do need to start harboring and honing in on that star potential that he has and treat it as such. So will that mean that he's the bigger needle mover this year than Jimmy Butler? I don't know. But it definitely feels like there has been more momentum behind that this offseason than in others in the past. It's been cool to see.